Born Free Pet Shelter is a no-kill shelter that was started by Alicia Abayi in 1981, and it had its actual beginnings on Key Biscayne. The actual shelter is located in Homestead on 5 acres of land, but it had its beginnings, as I said, in actually the late 1970s on Key Biscayne. Alicia, at the time, was living there with her husband, who was a physician, and her daughter came to live with her granddaughter. And the granddaughter was given an assignment in school to write a story, a true story, and she chose her grandmother, and she said, my grandmother collects dogs and brings them home, and we have 50 dogs. So the story was told in class, and the teacher who was teaching at the time at the school happened to be the wife of the mayor. And she said, I hope this is not true. I hope we don't have a situation where we have 50 dogs in a private residence on Key Biscayne. So, of course, it was true, and Alicia's husband found out about it, and he said, look, I'm going to buy you 5 acres of land for your birthday in Homestead, and you can start a dog shelter there. And so she did, and when her husband passed away, she actually moved out to Homestead, and she lives on the shelter and still cares for dogs. I happened to read in Key Biscayne magazine that there was a gala coming up, and it was for sheltered dogs, for homeless dogs, and it was for no-kill shelters. And I went to the gala, which was actually on Key Biscayne, and I was very excited. It was a wonderful gala. It was very low-key, very homespun. And that night, I think they raised about $35,000. In talking with Alicia after the event, I said, you know, I'd really like to get involved with your shelter, and I think I could maybe help you with fundraising, because I'm in the financial industry, or was in the financial industry, and I've done a lot of fundraising. You know, I think it's right after Hurricane Irma. It was an interesting year, first of all, because the shelter itself had some significant damage. We didn't lose any dogs, thank God. And at the time, we had probably about 125 dogs at the shelter. The hurricane hit Homestead pretty hard. We lost 25 of our dog shelters. We lost a tremendous amount of infrastructure. So we were in dire need of support. So that year I went to, at our annual fundraiser, I went to our donors and I said, this is a really special year. We are really in trouble and we really need your help. We raised about $350,000. Before that, we were probably raising about $200,000. So our donors really came through for us, and I was just so happy about that. We were able to replace in 1 year those 25 dog shelters. Our next big fundraiser is December 4th, 2021. Most of our attendees, and we get probably between 200 and 250 people who attend this, are from the Brickell area, from Fisher Island, and from Key Biscayne. This is our major fundraiser. This is where we raise all of our money. Our expenses to run the shelter are about $350,000 a year, just for our operations. And most of that is veterinary bills. We have a lot of older dogs that need annual checkups. And if you're a dog owner, you know that after they get past a certain age, those checkups for senior dogs are very expensive. And we keep dogs until they pass away if they're not adopted. So our veterinary expenses run probably about $150,000 a year. But because we're run almost entirely by volunteers, we really are very efficient in our use of money. So every penny that goes to the shelter goes to the dogs. As far as people donating their time to the shelter, the actual shelter, the shelter is in Homestead. We can definitely use people to socialize the dogs. Our dogs are shelter dogs, and many of them have not been in a domestic situation in a while. We can use volunteers, and mostly adult volunteers, who can come in and just walk the dogs and play with the dogs and, you know, have them acclimate to you, because they need that human contact. Dogs are very social animals. They're social with one another, but they love people. And so that's so important.